Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful host, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo is back, beautiful than ever, looking good as always, buddy. How you feeling today? How you feeling?
I'm feeling better. I still sound a little messed up, but I'm definitely feeling better. Quick shout out to Eyes Rohan. Miss you too, buddy. I saw that. It's been a rough week, man. And shout out to antibiotics real quick. Like, dude, I haven't taken those in years, decades, and I totally forgot how powerful they were. So don't be afraid. Power through it. But I'm feeling way better, man. Way better. Good to be back. Glad to be back. Shoot, I was like, I'm gonna get replaced. Like, I gotta get these antibiotics in my system.
People were worried about you. People were asking about you, whether if that was on live stream or commenting on the last episode. Where's Carlo? No show? I was like, whoa. It's not a no show.
I haven't been that sick honestly in a long time. Like, typically I'm like 24 hours, bounce it out of my system. This kicked my ass for like 6.5 straight up days. It was rough, but nobody really cares about that. We're here to talk Wings. We're here to talk Mr. Sergei Fedorov, and we're here to have some discussions about the lineup right now and some usage and whatnot. So kick it back to you to give us a proper introduction to today's episode.
Carlo, let you.
Wait a second. Hang on a second. I'm being rude. How are you feeling, bro? How are you doing?
Thank you, Carlo. Yes, I am doing fantastic. The Red Wings are doing well. I'm doing well. No complaints. It's just really cold outside. So bundle up, stay safe, enjoy this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown, because what do we got in store? Carlo mentioned it. We will be touching on Sergei Fedorov'S retirement night that was up against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah,
we will be touching on the Boston Bruins game, as well as the latest game that took place against the San Jose Sharks. And then the Red Wings will be playing today against the Ottawa Senators. That is 5 p.m. We are recording at 9:45 in the morning. If you guys did not know, that is when we primarily record. So if you guys do catch this after the Ottawa Senators game, yes, we did not talk about the Ottawa Senators game. However, we will touch on that to see what we would like to see out of the team and moving forward for the rest of this month in January before the Olympic break. As well, in this episode, we will be touching on key points of Dylan Larkin, Axel Sandin Pellikka, as well as maybe some trade rumors that we are hearing amongst the Detroit Red Wings fan base, online, on Twitter, and the good people in the NHL atmosphere that tell us all these great rumors, Carlo, because I know you weren't on the last episode. If you did not catch that episode, go ahead and catch this episode, then go watch that one. But with that being said, thank you for joining us on this brand new episode. Once again, if you are returning, if you are brand new, thanks for stopping by. If you are watching or listening to us on YouTube, surely do appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, hit the notification bell. That lets you know when these brand new episodes come out, as well as our short videos. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. You can watch and listen on both of those. If you are on all the major social media platforms, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter, X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all those places.
Let's get into this Carolina game. Let's get into the absolute brilliant ceremony that was held couple hours prior to puck drop. Shout out to Sergei Fedorov, dude, real quick. Like, he killed that speech. I mean, like, he's been in Russia for a long time. He's obviously speaking Russian full time. And, you know, it's obvious. I mean, it was obvious. But dude, it was awesome. That speech was incredible. He really carried it well from start to finish. You know, there were some good peaks. There were some really good peaks. And I thought he handled it it was a world-class speech. So I don't know who helped him with that or if it was all on him. I have no idea, but that was incredible. And that ceremony was insane, from the white Nikes to the Corvette entrance. Doesn't get more Sergei Fedorov than that. And boy, does that banner look good up there. Man, it's exactly where it belongs. But chef kiss to the whole organization and everybody involved with that real quick, because that was an absolute phenomenal ceremony to watch. Sucked I couldn't be there. I was literally going through it. That was, I believe, day 1 of antibiotics. So I was like struggle bus, but I got to watch it and it was goosebumps the entire time.
Yeah, and just touching on Sergei Fedorov's career numbers. In his 1,248 games, he has 1,179 points, 483 of them being goals, 696 assists, and a plus minus of plus 261, Carlo. And talking about some of his accolades, just highlighting every single one that he has collected throughout his hockey career. One-time U20 World Junior Championship gold medal with Team Russia, three-time World Championship gold medal, a one-time World Junior U20 silver medal, one-time Olympic silver medal, one-time World Championship silver medal, one-time Olympic bronze medal. He is in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He is in the IIHF Hall of Fame, one-time NHL All-Rookie Team member, one-time NHL First All-Star Team member, one-time NHL MVP selected by the NHLPA, which is the Ted Lindsay Award, a one-time NHL Most Valuable Player Award, which is the Hart Trophy, three-time NHL Stanley Cup champion, and a two-time NHL Top Defensive Forward Frank Selke Trophy Award.
Nasty.
And in his tenure with the Detroit Red Wings, he played from the years of 1990 all the way to the end of the 2002-2003 season, where he did, for a few seasons, Carlo, he did wear an A with the Detroit Red Wings. At one point, he did move on to play with other teams like the Mighty Ducks, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Washington Capitals, finishing it off there, and then going over to Russia to play in the KHL for 3 more seasons. So essentially, his whole entire NHL career went from 1990 all the way until the end of 2009, where he got to wrap up playing with Alexander Ovechkin. Talking about some of the top moments, that ceremony was absolutely incredible. They did an incredible job for Sergei, the fans, everyone that was involved in that. Congratulations. You guys deserve a clap as well.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Big
clap.
I also wish I was there. Unfortunately, it will be one of those things that I look back on and say, dang, I messed up. I goofed. I should have went to that ceremony. It's not every day that we as Wings fans get to see players' jerseys get retired. What, Carlo, it was not even 15 years ago, maybe not even 10 years ago that Nicholas Lidstrom's jersey was retired. I didn't get to go to that either. Before that, it was Steve Yzerman. Before that, how long did it take before someone's jersey got retired? How long is it going to be until we see another player's jersey retired? So I'm kicking myself in the butt for that. But yeah, what you said too, the Corvette, the Nikes, what are some of the top moments from the ceremony that you enjoy, Carlo? We also want to hear from the fans in the comment section. Your favorite parts of Sergei's career, the ceremony, whatever it is. Let us know your favorite moments of Sergei in general. But Carlo, what was your overall favorite moment that you believe, or your just overall favorite moment of Sergei Fedorov'S?
You know what? I was thinking about this, and I think I mentioned this on the pod once upon a time ago, but the one play that stands out to me the most with Sergei Fedorov I think it was actually in 2002. It was Brett Hull was on the team, and Brett Hull fed him a pass from the left wing, pretty much up against the boards. He fed him a pass into the slot, and Fedorov had a guy on him covering him, and Fedorov was able to, this puck had sauce on it. It was floating, and Fedorov just one-handed, doink, tapped it in. I don't know why that sticks out to me the most. Maybe because it's one of the latest memories of Sergei Fedorov skating up and playing. That very well could be it. But there was just something about that goal that I'm just like, what did I just watch? It was unbelievable. And there's just one of those moments where you remember where you were watching at, where you were sitting, the clothes you were you just remember everything about that. And it was, that's something that I'll remember forever because it was just unbelievable. And that's for his career. But I'll be honest with you, for the ceremony, I don't think I can chalk it up into moment. I think it was moments. But dude, the bromance between him and Stevie Y, there was a few moments of that throughout his speech, and even Stevie Y's speech that were really, really awesome. I think, what did Steve say during his speech? He said something about that 5-goal game that Fedorov had. He said Washington 4, Sergei 5. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. So the bromance between those two was really, really cool to watch and see on display. And yeah, I guess that would be my favorite parts of Fedorov's career and that ceremony. How about you, brother?
I would say for the memory in general of his career for Sergei Fedorov would probably be, there's so many. I could suggest the one that you had. I could say the 5 goals that Steve Yzerman mentioned against the Washington Capitals. I would say the 93-94 season in general, where he ended up winning the Hart Trophy and outpacing. Technically, he didn't outpace Wayne Gretzky, but he beat him out in the Hart Trophy race there, ended up winning that year, where Wayne Gretzky, he ended up putting up 130 points, but Sergei trailing him just by 10 with 120. And I believe that was the season that Steve Yzerman was injured. So Sergei Fedorov coming in, carrying the team on his back, essentially, and really put himself on the map in the NHL, asserting himself as one of the more dominant players in the National Hockey League. And Carlo, I think we could easily say he was a top, if not top 2, top 3 player in the National Hockey League in the mid 90s before we even won those cups.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Then I would say in general for the ceremony, I mean, top to bottom, I mean, from his entrance and the red Corvette, I hope he got to keep that red Corvette. That would have been nice. But even he said too that he wishes he kept his old red Corvette, but it's not practical to have kids and everything. So I thought that was really funny. But all the way down to the white Nike skates, I thought that was actually really super cool that they did that for him. I would also say that that's another top highlight in his career that I actually really enjoyed. While I was super young, I was only born in 94, so I only got to experience him for a little bit compared to some other listeners that might be out there. But the effect that he had in the world in general, everyone wanted those skates. As soon as I saw the Red Wings give him those skates, that was the first thing I started looking up. I was like, I want Sergei Fedorov white Nike shoes, not the skates, but I want the shoes to see if there was a replica out there, because that's how much of a presence he had amongst NHL fans alike, whether that's Detroit Red Wings fans or just NHL fans in general, or people who were overseas and they saw what Fedorov was doing. Because back then, Carlo, Russian players coming over and playing in the NHL was out of the ordinary. The Russian Five completely dominated, and credit to Fedorov, that whole entire Russian Five and Detroit Red Wings team. 3 Stanley Cups, that's a lot. And thank you so much, Fedorov, for everything that you've done for the city of Detroit. Hockeytown in general, and the state of Michigan.
Sergei, fuck, what a beauty.
What a beauty. Carlo, let's go ahead and touch on the game that happened afterwards. And this was a very, you know what? I thought this was a lock-in game, and then the tables turned in the third. Very classic stuff. I almost, for a second there, I almost thought that the league almost wanted this for entertainment purposes. Like, oh yeah, we're going to drag this out. It's Sergei Fedorov night. They started recording at like 5:30. The ceremony, you know, the NHL's eating this up. They're collecting so much revenue from all the commercials and everything. So let's go ahead and touch on the game. In the first period, you got old man JVR, Batman in the Batman era, right? In the Batman era. Yeah. We're going into this.
Incredible.
It was this game, right? It was this game that they introduced the Batman era, right? Or was it the game before, Carlo?
No. It was the game before. They were on the road.
That's right.
They were on the road.
Anyways, Batman JVR, they were undefeated in the Batman era. So he goes in collecting a power play goal, assisted by Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. I love that, by the way. We're going to keep that going. He is Batman forever on this 100%. Team. I never want JVR to leave. Then in the second period going into that, you got Alex DeBrincat getting his 24th goal of the season, assisted by 2C Andrew Cobb and the overnight assassin, OT Benny Sherratt. Continuing on, Albert Johansson. Albert Johansson with a really, really nice goal, getting his first goal of the season, Carlo, assisted by Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. And what a feed by Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
A lot of people gripe about Albert Johansson, us included. Let's touch on this goal by Albert Johansson and give him a little bit of his flowers. Because honestly, Carlo, I've been trying to say this to you, and I think other people should go ahead and do some research on it, but we will touch on this. Albert Johansson has had a really good month of January so far. What does it mean to finally get his first goal this season?
Well, it's got to be huge for him, confidence-wise. It's got to be big for him. I think he has been playing good. He's been playing a little bit more tenacious. He's been playing a little more mean. So, I mean, scoring while playing that way has to boost your confidence. So that's really good for this D group, because we'll get into this later on too. But we don't technically have 6 defensemen. So to see Albert stepping up, he's chipping away at that number 6, because it's pretty bleak as you kind of get down into the lineup and you look at some of the usages, which again we will get into shortly after. But good for Aljo, man. It was a great pass by Kaner. That was his vision on that was unreal. I'm glad Aljo kind of picked up what Kaner was putting down there and took the quick steps forward to get engaged and drive the slot. And obviously good things happen when you go to the net. We hear that every day, way too many times a day. So all in all, that was great. And I'm really happy for Johansson.
Yeah, great read by Johansson to come down in the slot, like you mentioned, right? You got to be able to read the play, Patrick Kane obviously had that telepathy there to get Aljo to come down there and solidify the third goal of the game. Carlo, going into the third period, things quickly change. The Carolina Hurricanes score 3 goals. They're not all quick, but within the span of the first 5 minutes of the third period, all the way down to the last 3 minutes of the third period to force it going into overtime. In overtime, incredible sequence here. Andrew Kopp, did he cross-check Shane Gosper in the back, Carlo, and then get the game-winning goal for the Detroit Red Wings?
Well, yes, he did cross-check him. No question about it. But hang on a second
with
here.
you about that.
Dude, it was a cross-check. What do you mean? You asked me if he cross-checked him. He did this, so that he did cross-check him. Now, the velocity of that cross-check, subjective, completely subjective, right? Unless you're Andrew Kopp or Shane Gosper, nobody knows the velocity of that cross-check. To me, it looked like it was a little bit of a soft fall. That's what it looked like to me. I am not saying that it was. I'm just saying it looked, I don't know. I don't know. It just looked a little soft. Biased probably, for sure. Again, unless you're one of those two players, it's a complete opinion only and it's subjective. Did he cross-check him? Yes. Was it soft? For me, it looked soft. I don't know. All I know is we won the game in overtime and Andrew Kopp tucked it away. So we're taking that.
Yeah. Good work on Andrew Kopp overall, right? He was in the right spot where he needed to be. Him cross-checking Shane Gosper, looking at it from this perspective, I think it was one of those calls where it was going to come down to the ref at that time. And if we're looking at it from a game perspective, are they going to make that call in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I wonder if they're going to make that call if it's not Sergei Fedorov night.
Because there were before going into OT, there were some very questionable calls against the Detroit Red Wings. And that's where I kind of felt like that the refs were trying to extend the play of this game, not trying to put the tinfoil hat on and saying the NHL wants to make as much money as they can. That's obviously their goal in general, but I'm not saying that they're calling the refs saying, hey, blow the whistle on this guy, do this, do that. Because there was one call on Seider. I think there was another bad call on someone else too that led to the one power play goal by Shane Gosper. Then you had a shorthanded goal against you from Seth Jarvis because of a botched play. But regardless, if it were a playoff scenario, you see plays like that all the time where there's a cross track in front of the net to be able to try and get the puck into the net. Absolutely. So that's why it's discretionary based on the refs at this point in time. The refs clearly said, I play a little harder, Gosper. We're not going to call that. Stay on your skates a little harder. Dig into the ice and you won't fall down. So the Red Wings walked away with 2 points, as they should. They played one hell of a game. Granted, the shots were 34-18 against, but John Gibson did one hell of a job to keep this team within it, because I thought the Carolina Hurricanes in general, they looked very slow in the first 2 periods, and then the third period, Red Wings kind of just took a back seat on this game. But your opinions on this game, Carlo?
Third period was they got lucky getting out of that third period. They got totally lucky, and John Gibson bailed them out. Shots were 14-4 for Carolina in that third period, so Detroit just never came out of the locker room after that second intermission. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, the penalties were really weird in this game. So it's hard to say they reffed this game like a playoff game because they really didn't. It was just very roller coaster. I feel like as the game went on, they got a little bit more playoff officiating as the game got on, to the point where that cross-check in overtime wasn't going to be called. And maybe Carolina was so upset about that because of the way the game was called in the first and the second. Like everything was being called. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was a really weird officiating game. There really wasn't any standardization or consistency that I saw. And that's probably why there was that emotional response from Ghost and pretty much everybody on Carolina. And I think that's warranted, by the way, because again, like you're calling a game that's all over the place. It's so unpredictable. You call some softies for the first 2 periods and then you don't call this in overtime. It's like, what's going on here? That's going to drive an emotional response. Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird one officiating wise. Wings got lucky getting out of that game. I don't know if they get out of that game if it's not Sergei Fedorov night. Just leave it at that.
I would agree with you. In a game like this, the Red Wings would have folded straight up in the third period, regardless, right? Whether if that was very early on in the season or going into last season. This is very much a different team that comes in and takes advantage of their opportunities that they're getting. Each team only had one shot in this overtime, Carlos. So 1 for 1 in OT for this Detroit Red Wings team. Good on Andrew Kopp, who is doing everything in his power. I mean, I keep calling him a 2C, Carlos. Should we just call him a 1C? We'll touch on that here later on in this episode, like we mentioned at the beginning. So let us know down in the comments what you thought about that game. Sergei Fedorov night once again. And if that should have been a call on Andrew Kopp for the cross check in the back and called it a no goal. But Carlo, next game, Wings lose 3-0. Not really much to touch on here. It was just one of those games where you're on the road, you're going into Boston. It's a back-to-back game. You used everything you had probably against Carolina on Sergei Fedorov night. Overall, just a very lackadaisical game from the Detroit Red Wings. I actually thought Cam Talbot was, if I had to give the first star to anyone, it'd probably be him. Honestly, Wings, even though he did have 3 goals against, I thought he looked fantastic. He still put up a .950 save percentage, but that's pretty much all I got on this game. You went 0 for 2 on the power play. Eventually, you're due for losses like these. It is what it is.
Dude, the amount of hockey this team's played, these guys were gassed. It was so obvious. I mean, dude, they hung with Boston for 2 periods. You got to give them some credit. And then the third period, they were nowhere to be found. They managed to get 2 shots on net to Boston's 16. They were absolutely strapped at that point. Scheduled loss all day long when you look at the amount of games they've played, hard games they've played, and the travel within them, the back-to-backs within them. Like, wasn't it 10 games in 20 nights or something like that? Like,
crazy numbers, dude.
I don't know if that's even accurate, guys, but I mean, like, still, it was something like that.
Look it up.
And
put it in the comments.
It was nasty. Like, that's a lot of hockey. This whole schedule thing is kind of a nightmare, especially with the Olympic break. Like, bittersweet, because obviously everyone's pumped up for the Olympics, but your hockey club, whoever it is that you root for, they are going through it right now with this schedule, man. And it's you see it. Like, you see some games where like they're human beings, or they just can't go. They're gassed, and we saw that against the Bruins. So yeah, I agree with you, dude. There's really not much to talk about here. That nobody scored, but I really don't blame or fault them at all. I think you're gonna have a game like that, like you said, and then you get some rest and you play San Jose Sharks and look at the outcome there, right?
Yep. Then you go up against the San Jose Sharks on a Friday night. I really wanted to go to this game, but I couldn't justify spending $140 per ticket for nosebleeders. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, tickets are getting up there now.
Hey, to go see really great talent like Macklin Celebrini, who I thought, I didn't get to watch the game. I got to watch the highlights and the recap of it, but he looked really good this game. Carlo playing 21 minutes this game. I got a buddy who's a big Sharks fan, and he's like, this kid is going to be on the same tier level as Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid, stuff like that. And have you seen, before we go into the game, because I do want to give a player like that his flowers a little bit, as much as I'm Red Wings first. I really don't have a second team. I can appreciate the talent on some of these players, because I would love to have a Macklin Celebrini on the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings instantly would probably be a Stanley Cup favorite if you just inserted Macklin Celebrini on the Detroit Red Wings right now. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
They'd be a contender. I can tell you that.
They would be a contender. But Macklin Celebrini, you have to give flowers when they're there. I think he is going to cause a lot of trouble in the National Hockey League for many, many, many years to come. But have you seen the point difference in terms of him and the rest of his team on the San Jose Sharks, Carlo?
Yeah, I think, was it Ken Daniels that brought that up on the broadcast? I don't know if it was Ken or if it was one of the analytical guys on FanDuel Sports, but I did see it. I don't remember the numbers, but I know there was a huge delta between him and the next man up.
Yep. So Macklin Celebrini leads the team in 47 games played with 24 goals, 48 assists for 72 points, Carlo, in 47 games. He is 19 years old? 19 years old, 72 points.
Yeah, he's a freak.
We haven't seen a player do this probably since Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah. Those guys, for sure. He's elite, dude. And just saying quickly, I cannot wait to see him in Team Canada's uniform in the Olympics. Hey now, thank you very much. Continue.
The next leading point getter on the San Jose Sharks behind Macklin Celebrini, who has 72 points, 72, is Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah.
With 32.
That's who it is. Yeah, dude.
A 40-point difference. They have the same amount of games played. Tyler Toffoli is a veteran in the NHL who has at least 10 years experience.
Dude, Celebrini is it's kind of crazy. Like, he's just starting to get, I feel like it anyway, but I feel like he's just starting to get like nationwide coverage. Like, people are finally like, oh, dude, this Celebrini kid's unreal. It's like, where have you been all season? He is like an anomaly. This kid's unreal considering his age.
Well,
Unreal.
even looking at last season, you know what's funny, and I hate to do this, but shout out to Anthony. If you are watching or listening, I'm sorry to do this to you, but we were chit-chatting. We collect hockey cards, so I think we were touching on that, or something came up with Macklin Celebrini. Maybe it was like a hockey card, or we saw a highlight of him or a comment, whatever. And he made the daring comment to say, I think Macklin Celebrini is a bit overrated, and I don't think he's going to have that great of a season this year.
That's insane. I mean,
sorry, Anthony.
You're entitled to your opinion, dude. Like, I have questions. What do you mean? Wait, was this before the season started?
Yeah.
Is this just like
so I'll give him that.
Okay. This is like a
started,
prediction.
So it was in the off season, correct. So it was, sophomore slump. There could have been that. You look at the San Jose Sharks. I mean, looking at the team, you had Will Smith coming back in his first game, being injured for a long time. Like, they just a really young team with not really too much talent outside of Macklin Celebrini, who is absolutely carrying this team. But I really don't want to touch on too much more of the San Jose Sharks, because at this point, then maybe we had to become a podcast for them, because they're just an exciting young team. But that's the last thing I want to leave off of, is that, yeah, they got players like Will Smith and a couple others. They just drafted Michael Misa not too long ago. They're going to
be lights out.
They're going to be basically the Habs of the West, and dare I say it, probably a lot better as well, which makes me happy that we're no longer a Western Conference team, Carlo, because we were once upon a time.
The West is a weird conference.
It is a weird conference
in contrast to the East, specifically the Atlantic. Because, like, what is it? 5 points between first and like last.
It's too close for comfort.
5 points between first and wild card 2, I think, is what it is, which is nuts, dude. That is insane.
5 points.
If you blink poorly, you're that's it. You're out. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're done. All right, let's go into the San Jose Sharks game real quick, where the Red Wings did win 4-2, 25 shots against the San Jose Sharks 22. So John Gibson with a 20-save dub for the Detroit Red Wings. And it starts out in the first period with Alex DeBrincat getting his 25th goal on the power play, assisted by Lucas Raymond and JVR. That pass by Lucas Raymond, it struck me shades of Patrick Kane. And I think we touched on this a little bit before as well, but as the season continues to progress, the more and more I see the similarities between the two players. But that pass, the finish by Alex DeBrincat, basically empty net goal for him.
Yeah.
The Red Wings benefited from, I believe it was Wenberg, who cracked his stick, so he was left without a stick. You basically were at a 5-on-3, but would you agree with me that Lucas Raymond is becoming more and more of Patrick Kane, considering now, after this game, he had a 3-point night. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. But is Lucas Raymond going to be future Patrick Kane 2.0?
Yeah, Patrick Kane's definitely rubbing off on Lucas Raymond. I think Patrick Kane's probably rubbing off on a lot of players on this team. But Lucas Raymond is certainly absorbing Patrick Kane's presence when he's on the ice. I'm sure he's doing it off the ice too, because Patrick Kane's he's an all-pro. But on the ice, it's clear. Like, you nailed that, dude. That pass was so deceptive, which we know Lucas Raymond, when he's on, his passing can be incredibly deceptive. But Askarov was convinced he was shooting that puck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was frozen. It was unreal. I like the pass more than I like the goal. Sorry, ADB, but that pass was just unbelievable. But yeah, dude, I think you nailed that one. I think he's definitely absorbing Patrick Kane's offensive attributes for sure, and you saw it on display there.
You know who else has a wicked shot? Macklin Celebrini. Because technically, Carlo, when the Sharks tied it up, couple minutes after the Detroit Red Wings scored,
that was off a Macklin shot.
Macklin Celebrini shot it so hard that it hit off of John Gibson, trickled behind him. The puck was about to go in the net, but Will Smith comes in, saves the day, and basically puts himself in the net as well. But Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, we just got done talking about them. Two young, high-octane forwards coming into the National Hockey League. Macklin Celebrini's unreal, dude. But yeah, they tie it up. You go into the second period. You finally go down 2-1, but then JT Compher follows it up just a couple minutes later to get his 6th goal of the season.
5-on-5.
With a phenomenal play by Marco Kasper. I do want to say the overall play, nice disruptive play by Finney in the offensive zone as San Jose was trying to get out of their defensive zone. Kasper picking up the loose puck, basically toe dragging the defender. It's smooth move by him. And then JT Compher coming down on the right wing, backdoor, Casper just passing across the net right there, Comfer finishing in a backdoor. Overall, just a nice play by Marco Casper. That whole entire line, it was smooth in general. And you love to see that from Marco Casper, who has been ridden on a lot this season, Carlo. And I guess just moving forward, because I do want to talk about this, Dylan Larkin getting a third period goal to making it a 3-2 lead, assisted by Lucas Raymond, JVR. Good for Dylan Larkin getting that 5-on-5 goal. And then Marco Casper getting the empty net goal, assisted by Lucas Raymond.
Big time.
This type of game where Marco Casper ends up getting the first star of the game, Carlo, for a 1 goal, 1 assist game, and finishing the game as a +2, 14 and a half minutes on ice. He had 5 shots on net, 1 hit. Big game by Marco Casper. And he got a lot of recognition by the rest of the team, the coaching staff after the game, talking about how good he has been lately. So touch on that, how much this means to Marco Casper getting the first star, these 2 points, and how this can really help him moving forward. Us included, a lot of Red Wings fans have been writing on Marco Casper's down season.
That was a huge game for Marco Casper. The last couple games he's been starting to come on, and last game it was full display of Marco Casper playing, skating, and providing the way he was doing last season. Guys, I mean, like this, there's no better time for Marco Casper to wake up and shake the cobwebs off than right now, because we're heading into a very important, I think it's 9 games before the break. It'd be nice to go 7-2. That's going to happen if Marco Casper stays consistent and stays productive. There's other things that need to happen for that to come through as well. But these are the things we need to stay relevant and to stay with our buffer within these Atlantic division, because it's absolutely hilarious the way this division is shaking out. So really pumped for Marco Casper, really pumped to watch the game against Ottawa today because of that and Casper. And because I'm pretty sure James Reimer is starting for Ottawa. I'm not sure if you knew he got signed, but I'm pretty sure James Reimer is starting for Ottawa. I will say this. I think James Reimer owes us an overtime win by way of doing some crazy unorthodox glove save that bounces directly to a player that was Tim Stützle in Ottawa and went into the back of Detroit's net. So James Reimer owes us one. But anyways, I digress. Viva la Casper, man. I'm here for it. Let's see him get better. Let's see him stay consistent. That's the piece here, is it's consistency. And I think, that'll be really nice. And I think I'm actually curious to see where he starts today on the lineup, Zach, because I think towards the end of last game, Todd Father put him up on the first line with Larkin Raymond. So curious about that one.
That would be nice to see, because like I said, I did end up not watching the game. That's maybe 1 out of the 82 that I don't get to see out of the year. So I do apologize about that, boys and girls. I did watch the recap and everything, but yeah, he started out the game on the third line. It was Casper, Comfer, and Benny. So, but you saw all 3 of them basically doing what needed to be done on that Comfer goal that secured that goal, right? That overall play from that line. So good lucks on them. Good on Casper. Yeah, I would love to see him back on the top line. Maybe that resurges him a little bit. We have seen stints with him and Finney up there, or just Casper. But going into this game, you did see JVR and Lucas Raymond with Dylan Larkin on that top line, which really wasn't a bad fitting, right? But we will go into it where Dylan Larkin, he has been seeing a lot of different line mates, but we'll touch on that here in a little bit. But I do want to touch on James Reimer, because that is the game that we will be going into tonight, Carlo, at 5 p.m. James Reimer still has not played an NHL game since the 2024-25 season. He did play in an NHL game for the Ottawa Senators affiliate team. And I think he had it was a bad game. I think he let in 5 goals or something like that. And I know, I get it. Goalies, they gotta get the dust off and everything. And we're very familiar with that. We've seen that with John Gibson, right? He had to get the cobwebs off, get the dust off, get the rust off, whatever you want to call it, right? But yeah, James Reimer, you're going up against
it's not confirmed.
Of yours. It's not confirmed, but I would imagine that James Reimer is going in there. You would think. The Ottawa Senators have a lot riding on them right now. They're not doing really good at all, Carlo. They are last in the Atlantic Division. But like you mentioned, it's really not that far away. They're only 7 points behind. That's 3.5 games behind the Buffalo Sabres, who are the second wild card team right now. in the Eastern Conference.
Yep. And
But
I
then you
think
look at it from the
Ottawa's
Buffalo
coming off
J-
an overtime win, right?
and Ottawa is coming off of an overtime. I think that would mean a loss. You won? That would mean a loss. So an overtime loss.
I don't know what to expect today, to be honest with you, dude. Ottawa always plays a pretty rough, tough game against the Wings. So I don't know what to expect. I think we have an advantage. If Reimer starts, we have a big advantage with the lack of NHL experience he's had as of late. We know he's played in the NHL for quite some time, but lately, like to what you said earlier, he hasn't. I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect. Day of rest yesterday, practice day. They had a great practice with a Make-A-Wish Foundation. I don't know if you guys saw that. I'm sure you did, but they had a young boy out there play a net, which was awesome. So I just want to plug that real quick. It's really great that the Red Wings organization does that stuff. But tying this into the game against Ottawa today, I really wonder what stuff like that does to boost people, lift people's spirits up, and just offer a little bit of a perspective shake when you get to be around other human beings that are really going through it. So shout out to the organization for doing that. I know John Gibson took, I believe his name was Merrick, under his wing, Merrick. And Todd was talking about it in the press release after practice. It's great to see the organization do that. It's not the first time, it's not the last time we're going to see it. And hopefully we see a big game loaded with some juice and energy as a result of a good practice, structurally, but also a good practice with a really good cause behind it too. So we'll see, man. I'm hoping for a big game for the boys. Be nice to see a little multi-point Casper game. It'd be nice to see Larkin score some 5-on-5 again. That's something that he needs to figure out. And so I'm counting on Casper and Larkin to really drive this game for us against Ottawa, and hopefully Reimer as well.
Yeah, just talking about Merrick a little bit. Yeah, Make-A-Wish kid, 4 years old. It's very, stuff like that. It's so unfortunate, but good on the Red Wings organization, like you mentioned, to be able to do this for kids who are going through, whatever it is, struggles in their lives that are just very, very unfortunate. I honestly don't know what to say about this, but yeah, Merrick coming in and hanging out with John Gibson for a day, like you said, Carlo. What that does for the team, not just for John Gibson, who is having, once again, another incredible month. I mean, 5-1-0 record, just 11 goals against for a .936 save percentage and a 1.83 goals against average. Just absolutely incredible. It's just going to help him moving forward, right? It's not just John Gibson, but this team just being thankful for what they have in their lives and the health and the ability to play the game that they love, and being able to share that moment with someone who's going through rough times right now and their family. It's incredible. So good practice, hopefully good game moving forward, and continuing this month on a high note, right? And do it for Merrick. But
absolutely, man.
And then from here, where do we, well, that's the game.
All right. So let's get into, done with the recap of the games, done with a little bit of what we expect with Ottawa. Let's get into some of the two glaring things that have been talked about a lot online. And honestly, if you're watching these games, you probably see it too. But let's talk about Dylan Larkin and Axel Sandin Pellikka, respectively. We'll kick it off with Larks. Larks is a great two-way player. He is. Let's start with that. He really is. He's all over the place, and he plays a hard game, and he plays high minutes, and they're all tough minutes, obviously matching up against other teams' top units. I don't know what's going on with him 5-on-5 though. I mean, I did some digging on the amount of ice time he spends with what D pairs, and it's with Mo and Ed, like by a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like, dude, he's got two 5-on-5 goals since December 1st. I don't know. That's 11th on the team, by the way. I guess 11th on the team, or tied for 8th with John Leonard, Mason Appleton, JT Comfort, Dylan Larkin, all with 2 5-on-5 goals since December 1st. The one person that stands out to me, man, honestly, is James Van Riemsdyk. He's got 100 minutes less, almost 100 minutes less ice time than Larkin does, and he's got 6 5-on-5 goals. So really big credit to the bottom 6 of this team. I don't want to say carrying them, bottom 6 forwards, but they kind of are, man. They're playing such a grindy type of game, and they're producing offense, and it's great. Now imagine when Larkin starts to wake back up, because Lord knows we need him to start scoring some goals again and creating some plays. Now the difference between first and or 8th, I guess we'll say, keep it positive, where he's tied for 8th. Like DeBrincat's got 8, JVR's got 6. Kopp's got 4. Andrew Kopp, man, holy smokes, what a rebound and renaissance from him. And then Lucas Raymond, Kane, Axel Sandin Pellikka, Moritz Seider with 3. And then you got, like I said, Leonard Appleton, Compher, and Larkin with 2. So, I mean, DeBrincat's really the standout, and JVR, and then it's very, very tight from Andrew Kopp down. But I'm honestly surprised that Dylan Larkin's this low. By the way, Dylan Larkin on the defensive side has let goals against since December 1st as well is 14. So he's 2 5-on-5 goals, 14 goals against. So I don't know what that tells us on the defensive side, and if there's any correlation there. I'm sure there is, but it's actually the highest forward. When you filter by goals against 5-on-5 since December 1st, Dylan Larkin is the first forward named with 14. Emmett Finney behind him at 13. The rest are defensemen. So I don't know what's really going on with Larks offensively. I know he contributes well in the defensive zone. We know he plays well. We know he's a motor out there, and this is not like a crazy shot at Dylan Larkin. It's just more or less what's happened to his goal scoring and his offensive capabilities. That's really the question. I don't know the answer to it. I'm not sure if anybody else has noticed it. If you have, let's talk about that. Let's engage on that one, because it's a pretty big hole that we want to obviously see get filled. But why do you think it's happening? Zach, I'll ask you the same question. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Have you noticed it when you've been watching these games?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about Dylan Larkin's numbers, and we could start since December 1st. I mean, 14 points, that's 10 goals, 4 assists for 10 points. He's a -6. He's had 59 shots on net. His ice time has dropped from the month of December until now, where in December he averaged just over 20 minutes of ice time per game. This month right now, he's averaging 18 minutes and 15 seconds. So his ice time is going down. Just against the Boston Bruins game, he only played 13 minutes. Last night's game, played 17. The most he played in a game this month so far was January 1st against the Pittsburgh Penguins, where you lost 4-3 in overtime, playing 23 and a half minutes.
Is he gassed? That's a lot of minutes. And then to see that drastic drop off, I didn't know that Boston, he only played, would you say it was 13?
13.
That's a dramatic drop. So guy must be gassed.
Yeah,
and he's being managed.
We did an episode asking, what's going on with Dylan Larkin, what's going on with Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond obviously has picked it up a little bit ever since then, so we're not going to ask that question. But we asked the question, is he injured? I don't know what's going on with Dylan Larkin. My argument here would be that for Dylan Larkin, you look at his line mates. He had Lucas Raymond and Emmett Finney for the longest time. Lately, it's been shifted around to where we've seen Casper and Emmett Finney up there with them. Just talking about Emmett Finney, he has no points this month. No points. He's a -6. He's only had 4 shots on net.
Yeah.
He's averaged under 14 minutes a night.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess this kind of, you bring up a good point with line mates. That's a really, really good point. Larkin is not 3 people, and he can't do 3 people's jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this then. Panarin. We know the Rangers came out and said, we're not offering Panarin an extension. So his days are basically done with the Rangers once his contract's done. What do you guys think about going after a Panarin? Zach, the question's for you as well, but what does Artemi Panarin look like on this team with Larkin and Raymond on the top line? Or do you put, I don't know if this is the wisest move, but do you break up the DeBrincat, Kopp, and Kane line? Probably not. They are our top line. But do you break up and put DeBrincat with Larkin and Raymond to really kind of get Larkin going, and then you have Panarin, Kopp, and Kane, which Panarin and Kane also have, some solid chemistry, in their day. I would be very interested in Artemi Panarin, I think, Zach. What do you think?
Yeah. I think every team in the NHL should be interested in an Artemi Panarin, who is having a really good season. I mean, at the start of the season, he was doing really bad. He shaved his head, and now he's over a point per game player. He's got 54 points and 40-something odd games, I believe it is. Let's see here. Something like that. Yeah, 40-something odd games, same as the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, 54 points, 18 goals, 36 assists. Just this month alone, Carlo, he's got 4 goals, 9 assists, and 13 points in what is that? That's 7 games played in the month of January. So he's almost a 2-point per game player. It's his cap hit. It's also the question, if a team trades for him, does he want an extension? But talking about the Detroit Red Wings team in general, in the last 10 games, they're 7-2-1. So with Dylan Larkin even not being able to produce right now,
putting up a good record.
There's nothing really bad to say there, right?
There's not.
So,
No. That's what I'm trying to do. You're right.
right.
You're right.
So as much as, I agree with you. I think Artemi Panarin would be a fantastic addition and would boost someone like Dylan Larkin up tremendously. It would be a lethal add to that top line, especially if Lucas Raymond's now back up there, but could you imagine Panarin, Larkin, and Raymond? Absolutely unreal. Then you already have your legit second line, right? So you don't have to break that up. And then, as you mentioned, depth scoring basically has been carrying this team, which is where I want to go into is that our bottom six might be one of the better bottom sixes in the whole entire National Hockey League. And that's how we're ending up winning games, because our lines are outpacing other teams' lines. And we're seeing the redistribution of wealth, so to say, where we've seen Lucas Raymond get bumped down to the third line. And 3 games, he probably put up like 6 points or something like that just by being on the third line.
They were 5-on-5. He scored two 5-on-5 goals, I think, in that 3-game experiment.
So for me, I guess just kind of wrapping it up on the whole Dylan Larkin portion of it, I'm okay if Larkin isn't producing, if we're just going to keep on winning, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. I do want Larkin to get his points. I want him to be over a point per game player, and I want people to shut up and stop saying that he's not a true 1C, because he is. I think part of it comes down to the redistribution of players. So no longer playing with Raymond, not playing with Alex DeBrincat. It's probably playing a little bit more of a defensive game. You're playing with such young players and Marco Kasper, Emmett Finney. You're now getting JVR back up there to help create some type of offense going. And Todd McClellan probably sees that. That's why he's putting JVR up there at the top line. But going back to Artemi Panarin is going to make your team that much more dangerous. And this would be an ad that I would love to see Steve Yzerman to make. What is the cost? Artemi Panarin said, like you said, per his agent or something, that he's not going to sign an extension and that the team is going to work with Panarin, because I do believe that he has control on where he goes. He gets to pick where he wants to go. Does he want to come to Detroit? I don't know. I don't think anyone truly knows that. Could he be interested to come here to make a push in the playoffs? Maybe. I guess it depends. Does he want to sign an extension?
I think he would be more willing to come here. Sorry, dude.
Hold on.
Extension, though. He's 34.
Yeah, I think he would come here if you sign him to an extension, but it's just a 1-year extension. I mean, you look at Patrick Kane. He's 36. I'm not saying like a 4-year deal or anything like that.
Well, I was going to say, is it the Patrick Kane treatment?
Yeah, I
that's
think
a good point.
Eventually Panarin wants to go to the KHL. He doesn't have that much time left. He hasn't won any cups. His career is, dare I say it, it's basically almost done. So he's going to want to go to a team that's going to give him the best opportunity to win that cup. So we see more teams like the Colorado Avalanche or the Tampa Bay Lightning. Why wouldn't he want to go to Tampa Bay? He could play with Kucherov. There's a couple of other teams out there too. Or Florida. Yeah, he's got, but it all comes down to that cap. Does the Red Wings
Tampa can't afford
$1 million cap?
Easy. Tampa can't afford him. So you look at the teams who can afford him. Okay. You're looking at Chicago, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Anaheim, Columbus. They're in last. Calgary, although Rick Bowness is now in Columbus, so look out for the resurgence of the Blue Jackets. Calgary, selling players. Carolina's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Carolina's always in the frickin' mix with players. I don't know how they do it, but they're a team that would be considered a destination because of the way they play. But listen, Detroit's keeping up with them. And Detroit's got some assets right now that I don't think Carolina has. Well, they do, but I think Detroit's got a little bit of an edge on them asset-wise, and I think Detroit's got a little bit of an edge personnel-wise with DeBrincat and Patrick Kane. And then, of course, I think it's $12 million more in cap space. So Detroit's in a really interesting position. If we're going to talk about a quick little trade deadline corner here, Detroit could easily afford Panarin with 0 cap retained, no problems. And they could still afford a Rasmus Anderson or a Dougie Hamilton easily with no cap retained. So, I mean, Steve Yzerman, quick shout out to you too, man. You put this team in a really good position because they're winning.
Yeah.
They're playing well, and they have $28 million in cap space to spend right now to really make this team a contender. Now, this is a theory. Yzerman, he said it so many times. It's not playoffs or bust. He's like, I want to compete for a Stanley Cup. I don't want to compete for a playoff appearance. So when you look at that statement from Stevie Y himself, and you look at where this team is right now, and you look at their cap space, Something's got to happen here. There needs to be something going through his mind right now to say, okay, let's take this over the top and let's go compete for a cup. Am I wrong? Am I overzealous? Where am I at here? Because I see $28 million and I see a team that's tied for first place in the Atlantic Division. I mean, math is math. There's got to be the want to go and get an Artemi Panarin and then a Rasmus Anderson or a Dougie Hamilton. The want's got to be there. Question is, are the assets there? Yeah, cool. Are we willing to part with them? I'll leave it at that. Turn it over to you, brother.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's always so funny, Carlo, because I feel like it's been a couple seasons, but just to highlight this season, you look at the offseason, what Steve Yzerman did, how much cap that he left on the table to further be utilized, however you want to look at it, right? You said we have so much cap left available. I think that's projected cap space that you're looking at. The current number, I think it's just under $12 million that the Red Wings could actually utilize, but that's so much cap. That is so much cap.
28-13.
Okay, sorry. So it was the other way around. Okay, correct. Yeah, so it's more like the 13. That's what you technically actually have to work with. But it goes back to the offseason where a lot of fans were saying, well, Steve Yzerman used the cap. You know, Illich, who is so cheap, won't let Steve Yzerman use all the cap. Steve Yzerman's a genius for not using the cap because now you can go into trade deadline and twist the arms of these GMs saying, yeah, you don't have to retain any cap. We'll just take it all. Whereas other teams, like you're saying, Carlo, there's only so many teams that can take on this cap. So Detroit and Carolina are the only two that are the relevant names that can take on the full cap that are good. Then you look at some of the other teams who might be good but have that maybe need like $3 million here or $5 million there. So they have to move on from a player. The New York Rangers don't want to take on bad contracts, and that's where you got to look at it from. What type of assets do they want? We have the young players. We have the draft picks. We essentially would have anything that they would want for. But what do they want? And that's the question we have to ask ourselves as Detroit Red Wings fans. What are we willing to give up for the now? Not just for an Artemi Panarin, but you can even make the case for someone like Rasmus Anderson, who has been leaked out there saying that he's probably been traded to Boston, which was put out there yesterday. We still haven't heard anything yet. It's fair game still. And even talking about it, I think we can transition into going into ASP here because that's kind of the talking point as well, is that the Detroit Red Wings should go into this trade deadline and adding someone on the right side. Looking at it more like we did this morning, Carlo, a lot of people said if you can upgrade the left-handed D side, that's probably the best. Albert Johansson has been playing a lot better, Carlo. So I'm a little hesitant to upgrade the left side. Sherratt's doing well. Albert Johansson so far this month, while he's only got 2 points, I'm not expecting him to put up points. He's got a plus minus of a +5. His ice time has been going up. JBD has a plus minus of a +8. He's got 2 points playing on the third pair as well. ASP is the one that I think a lot of people should be in question about. His ice time has been dramatically gone down, Carlo. In October,
he is being sheltered like crazy.
In October, 18 minutes. November, 19 minutes. Then you get into December, it's 16 minutes. And now this month of January, Carlo, it's barely over 13 and a half minutes.
Yeah. He's being utilized when they're winning and on the power play. If the game's tied or if they're down, he's not on the ice. He's not even on the ice, Zach. There's been periods where he's just not on the ice. It's you know, people I see it, they talk about, isn't this bad for his development?
Fair question to ask.
It is, and I don't know how to answer it. I mean, I try to read into what Todd says, and, you know, Todd keeps talking because media keeps asking him. Thank you for doing that, by the way. They keep asking him about it. And he's like, Axel Sandin Pellikka is a really good NHL player. That's kind of how he opened up his remarks. So that tells me that he's not going anywhere.
Correct.
Why would a really good NHL player go anywhere? So that, to me, it's like, okay, he's sticking around. But they're really managing the way he's utilized. And that's okay for a 20-year-old. That's okay for a really young player to be sheltered and managed. Does it knock his confidence? I don't know. He's got 3 5-on-5 goals since December 1st. I don't know. Like he's producing when the coaches put him out there in a position for him to produce and succeed. So I don't know if it knocks his confidence. I think he should still be confident. I think he should understand that I'm not a defensive defenseman. He probably knows that more than anybody. He's an offensive defenseman, and I don't think it makes a ton of sense when you're trying to win games in this Atlantic Division, and with as transparent as Todd appears to be with this team and the players, I would imagine the conversation's got to be crystal clear, like, Axe, we can't put you out there when we're down. or when we're tied. We're trying to get back into the game, and we need to be sound defensively to do that. That's not a shot at you. You're going to have the power play opportunity, which he still does. That's confidence. It's just the way this coaching staff is managing this decor. It's very, very interesting because we don't really have a top 4. We have like a top 3.5. And then like ASP is being switched out and rotated between Albert Johansson and Jacob Bernard Docker to fill that top 4 spot. And they're actually, it's working. They're 7-2. Like it's working. We're still winning games. We still have a winning record. So it's working. The question becomes, is it sustainable? I don't think it is. We need a top 4 defense. We just don't. We need 4 guys that are eating minutes, and we have 3 that are doing that. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's wrong, dude, because they have a winning record. I don't think what they're doing is wrong. I just think it's smart. I really think it's a wise concept to limit ASP and shelter him into playing where he's going to be effective, not where he's going to have a negative impact.
And this is where I think us included, Carlo, or maybe I should just say we. I don't want to speak for other people.
Sure. Put it in the comments.
Go in the comments if you agree with us. I think we slept on. We knew Todd McLellan was a great coach. We knew he was a really good coach. Did we expect Todd McLellan to come in and make this team that good to where we don't need to rely on our top offensive defenseman and our number 1 centerman on this team? Because it's just absolutely incredible on the work that Todd McLellan has done to keep this team within the game, even when your best players are down. Not saying that ASP is our top player, but he will eventually. Todd McLellan needs to get more recognition as a Jack Adams finalist. I don't think it's being talked about enough, because if we're able to continue this with, I mean, Carlo, the amount of attention that our team got in the offseason for how bad it was.
Yep.
Just by looking at it on paper.
I think that's the part that doesn't really get looked at when you start getting into these awards, Jack Adams and whatnot. Like, we're obviously diehards, and we're diving into all these stats and the ice time and the way it's being paired up. Like, I don't know if these guys are doing that. I think they're just looking at teams that have, winning records and maybe a crazy goal differential, and that's about it. Who knows? But I mean, like, when you look at what Todd's doing and you really kind of get into the unwinding of everything and peeling back layer after layer after layer, it's kind of outstanding what McLellan and co are doing to make this team produce at the level that they're producing. It really is.
Following along with that too, and just to kind of prove your point on the whole ASP utilizing his usage and just talking about the last 3 games, Carolina 4-3 in OT. You're absolutely right, Carlo. You were up, then you go down, you're tied. He only played 9.5 minutes that game. Then you go in against the Boston game. You're down 3-0. You're basically down almost the whole entire game, essentially, because you're so tired from the night before. He played almost 16 minutes that game. Okay, you're losing, so you got to put him out there, basically.
That's what I mean. You're losing, and it's probably not going to come back because the race to 3 was already.
Then in San Jose, you were either down or tied majority of the game. He played 9 minutes.
Yep. There you go. If Detroit's playing and it's 4-1 Wings, he's probably going to be closer to 16 minutes of ice time.
Which is facts, because against Montreal and Vancouver last week, 4-0 win, 5-1 win, 15-13, 15-55 of ice time.
There you go. So it's 100%. It's interesting to see, and it's interesting to watch. I think it's just smart coaching is what I think it is. I don't think it's anything more than that. I think these guys want to win. As much as the players do, these coaches want to win too, and they're going to do it by the way they think is best. And I don't really think what Todd's doing is wrong because it's working. It just comes back to how is this affecting Axel Sandin Pellikka, the player, the human? And I don't think it's affecting him. I really don't, because he's still when he's playing, he's producing, scoring 5-on-5, like he's still producing. So
yeah, especially when you hear what I don't know, for those that are watching and listening to us, how close attention people pay attention to like Spin Chicklets. I know that they're friends with Rick Tocchet over there in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia Flyers fans are very unhappy with the way that they're handling the Michkov situation. I guess they're unhappy with the minutes that he's getting. He's on the third line. He's not producing. all this stuff, where Detroit Red Wings fans, we'd probably be doing the same thing with ASP. We'd be doing the same thing with Danielson. I mean, we always said that, right? Do we want to see our young, good, talented players on the bottom six? Absolutely not. No, but it doesn't stunt their development. I think that is a argument that could easily be washed and should be washed. I think it only benefits the player, to be honest. I mean, they're getting still the opportunities. Like you said, ASB still getting the power play time. Emmett Finney's still getting looks on the top line, or, he's being involved in plays that contributed to the Marco Kasper assist and the JT Compher goal. So I think fans need to not hold on to, do we want to call it a stereotype, a category? Like, what do we call that?
Typecasted, where an actor plays the same type of role every movie, like a Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn does play the same character.
Someone's getting Vince Vaughn on the Red Wings. Let's coin that.
Oh, God. But yeah, I just think it's something that fans need to step away from, that it's not going to be the same thing for every player, but we got to stop nitpicking at the small things. And it's easy to do that when you're winning now, Carlo. It's very easy to do that.
Totally.
Right? Like, we're picking apart, and we had fun this episode, and then it's not to pick on ourselves, but yeah, we just spent time talking about what's going on with Dylan Larkin. We're winning. We're 7-2-1 in the last 10 games, but Dylan Larkin, he can't produce any goals. Like,
well, no, it's again, I don't want to shit on the guy. Yeah, it's just a conversation as to like what's happening with his goal scoring, and then these are all conversations that are going to happen win or lose. That's the thing,
and it's a good conversation to have, because 100%. What if the bottom six stops performing?
Well, that's the thing.
Then it all really falls on Dylan Larkin.
Well, right? Is the bottom six truly one of the better bottom sixes in the league? I think it is. But consistency is what makes something, concrete. Stats do as well, of course, but consistency at the end of the day provides the stats. But if that bottom six, if that well runs dry, now what?
You're in trouble. Exactly.
You're in trouble. That's right. And we talked about it earlier. The Atlantic Division is the wrong division for a well to run dry. Yeah. You will be bounced right out of the mix with a bad week. One bad week, hell, a bad weekend. You're bounced out. It's kind of nuts. So interesting conversation. Let us know what you all think. Drop it in the comments. We'll tag the video and we'll put timestamps of where this discussion started and ended and whatnot, so you guys can pick it apart. But eager to have a good conversation with y'all about this, specifically with Larkin and ASP and how the coaching staff's managing these things and overall personnel. But other than that, I thought it was a really fun episode. I thought it was a good one.
Trade rumors.
Zach. Trade rumors, yeah. We talked a little bit about everything.
Yeah, let us know if you think that there's players that we did last episode. There was plenty of players that we touched on. If there's anyone that we missed, let us know down in the comments. But let us know about a lot of people. Last episode, they did comment. They said no on Artemi-Panarin, but we want to hear from you guys again. Your thoughts on getting Artemi-Panarin, if the deal would make sense, what the cost would look like. We could take on the full cap if he selects the Red Wings as a team of choice that he wants to go to. Rasmus Anderson, do you want to see us get a right-handed defenseman or a left-handed defenseman? I believe, to me, Carlo, I think it starts with a right-handed defenseman. That probably makes the most sense. That's first target, then maybe get depth scoring. I don't know. That's my thought. What are your thoughts on trade rumors? What would you like to see the Red Wings do first? And let us know down in the comments as well.
Let us know down in the comments, please, because this is going to be a huge conversation heading into the next week or two, if a deal's to be made before the Olympic freeze. If it's me, I'm going after a top 4 D-man, and I'm going after a top 6 winger. That's what I'm doing, and I think that's what makes this team a contender well into the postseason. So that's what I got. That's where I'm going to drop it and leave it. That's my final thought. Zach, I'll flip it back to you if you have a final thought.
My final thought is a final question. Is this season the time where, like Carlos said, he wants a top 4 defenseman and he wants a top 6 forward? Is this now the season where we start going big, swinging all in? Do we start to do that now? Let us know down in the comments what you guys think. We obviously will continue having these conversations as we inch closer to the trade deadline, which is March 6th of this season. You have the Olympics coming up, and Carlo, you said we have 9 more games. I think it's 8 after tonight's game against the Senators. You only play 4 games in February, 2 before the Olympics and then 2 after the Olympics. No home games. I would also like to say with my final thoughts that I don't want to lie, I'm very nervous about going into the Olympic break and losing the momentum we have. Because if you don't think we have momentum right now. Granted, we're not on 7-game winning streaks. We're not on 11-game winning streaks like the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
We have momentum. that other teams outside of the Atlantic don't. The Atlantic has all the momentum in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
But I'm very nervous that as soon as we go into that break, all gas is gone. That's my biggest nerve.
All gas is gone for everybody, though, Zach. So that's the good news. It's who can fill the tank the quickest and start spinning the wheels the quickest. And that's where it comes down to, you know, the sports science team, the coaching staff, all things that we've talked really highly of on today's episode, specifically with the Detroit Red Wings. So hopefully, you know, we can get our wheels going again rather quickly when the break is over. But we'll have to wait and see what Todd says about that, because I'm sure there'll be some big time questions as we get closer to the final game before the break. So with all that said, folks, we appreciate you sticking around. We appreciate y'all hanging out till the end. Lots of discussion, hoping for lots of engagement in the comments, because that's where you know we like to be. Until next time, we'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Love you. Goodbye.
Nice guy. What a nice guy.
Nice guys. Nice guys. We're finishing first.
Whoa.